Today we're at a place called Hacienda Seria. If you've been following the behind the scenes full wedding day series, you've definitely been here before, but today we're doing both photo and video coverage, so come with me while we do that.
Did I rush it? I feel like I rushed it. I just get so nervous when I'm in front of a camera. Here's an intro that says my name a bunch of times.
Taylor Jackson.
Shooting 67 weddings last year.
Taylor Jackson, welcome.
So Taylor, you are well known in this community. You're an amazing photographer.
Wow. At first you were like, this guy doesn't have any credibility. But after that intro, like 4 people have said his name on a podcast one time. So he's got to be good, right? Let's get to today's wedding. Check out this chair footage. Top notch. Most fire chair footage 2019. You ain't never seen no fire transition in a wedding behind the scenes before, I bet. And if you have, you've definitely been watching the wrong content. Back to me on scene at Hacienda Seria.
Today on my main camera, which is an Nikon D850, I have my Tamron 85mm f1.8. It is my main lens. This is going to be my main setup for the day. On my other body, which is over my shoulder here, I have the Nikon 24mm f1.4, which is also a fantastic lens, wide body. The only other lens that I have with me that I'll likely use is the 7200, and I'll pull that out during the ceremony just for maximum variety.
You screwed it up.
In case anything happens, that I have the extra zoom for a little bit extra reach, but I prefer the images that come off of this 85 1.8 and the 24 1.4 a lot better than the 7200.
So that statement is a bit of a lie. I love the images from the 7200, but it's a bit of a pain to carry around all day. I'm a firm believer in the fact that nobody wants a photo of their makeup half done, so I kind of hang out back here and get some abstract photos of the brushes. And if the makeup artist is a friend, I include them. If not, I only get brushes. People are starting to arrive, and they are in good light underneath this little covered awning. So I'm doing a few candidates, making sure they get them. That's Logan the groom over there. And Montana, my second photographer / video human of the day, was also with them over at the hotel.
All right, looks good. And then as close as you can all get together, the better there. That looks good. And if you want to angle yourselves in kind of towards, that's good there. All right, looks good. And then if everyone wants to just kind of cross your hands over, something like that. Most of you are doing it already. A little bit? Yeah. Like that? I'm gonna make you guys kind of walk towards us over here and just pretend you're just walking. You can talk to each other. Super candid.
Not leaving.
Awesome.
Forced candid photojournalism at its finest. So here what I'm doing is I'm spending way too long photographing and videoing Prosecco gummy bears because I find them unique and delicious. Also, they left a bunch of them at the venue afterwards, and we continued to enjoy them for about 3 months after the wedding. So shout out to the bride and groom of today for those. Basically, I'm just getting all the individual elements documented with my 85, and then usually I'll go through with my 24 at the very end and kind of reshoot some stuff and see, just because of the randomness, sometimes things just look better through 24 than do 85, even though it defies all logic in your mind, just the way all the elements are kind of coming together on that day. Sorry, that was a hiccup. Also, we're going to edit all of these images at the end of this video, so stick around if you want to see that. I use my presets. They're available either on Patreon or to standalone purchase if you wish. If you do get the ones on Patreon, it comes with like all of my preset packs as well as a bunch of other stuff like my contracts and pricing documents. And there's a lot over there, so if you haven't yet moseyed on over to the Patreon machine, maybe go check it out. And advertisement. But in all seriousness, thank you to everyone that's joined Patreon because it is what allows me the time to be able to do things like this. Basically, you're just buying me lunch every month, like $20 a month, buy me lunch type thing. You get it. That's all now. So getting ready today is pretty chill and relaxed. I kind of have free reign to do whatever I want, and I'm kind of getting this weird flare off of the wood that I kind of really enjoy. It kind of makes it almost look like it's a film scene or something. This is just what we've shot in the video so far to just catch you up, to try to keep this a linear teaching experience and process with no distractions and no comedy.
Gear lust, gear lust. Gear lust, gear lust.
So bummer of the day, they've set up this tent kind of behind the ceremony location. So everything is beautiful, and then just blue tent, chilling, off camera left. So all of my shots, no longer symmetrical, now have blue tent. Playing gear less would make me happier in this moment.
I've got glass, but it's not in the cupboard. Full kit, every focal length is covered. New lens, bokeh, bokeh, bokeh.
That's the last time I'll play that today. Thank you. So this is a very confusing ceremony, just the logistics of it, which makes photographing it a bit of a mystery sometimes, because they might come straight through where it looks like they're headed towards me, or they might take a left and go straight out here. And a lot of the time what they decide, and they actually tell me, changes like 2 minutes before they walk down. They're like, oh no, we should walk down the aisle. And so they go over there. So you have to kind of be set up for everything. So you definitely need a long reach lens when you're shooting mysterious ceremonies like this. But the good news is we got clouds, so not direct sun, which makes this ceremony a lot better. If it's direct sun, I can only really shoot kind of in one direction, and everybody else is just being blinded, including all the guests. So 10 out of 10 weather came in just for us right here. Happy to see clouds always during a ceremony in the afternoon. The other, I guess, challenge or trick with the ceremony is you don't know once they come down to the end of this aisle here through the trees if they're going to go left or right, and sometimes they also split up. And again, you can kind of figure out, and you can talk with them before, you can talk with the venue coordinators, but so much changes in that actual moment that you really have no idea, so you just have to be kind of prepared for everything. The downside with this is that as soon as they kind of go this way, that somebody is hiding behind everyone, so his dad's hiding behind him and his mom. So photographically, I'm doing the best I can, but it's by no means the most ideal and great situation, even though it's like 90% good, but it sucks because it could be like that 10% better, and I have no control of it because I have to be quiet and I can't yell at them during the ceremony because that would be inappropriate. If you're talking to the bride and groom during the wedding ceremony, you're probably doing wedding photography wrong. Also, if you're laying down in the aisle in between all the guests during the ceremony, also doing wedding photography wrong. Also, if I was to be standing in the fountain for some reason, just to get a good reflection off the fountain during the ceremony, also doing wedding photography wrong. If I was swimming laps like Michael Phelps in that tiny little pool, also wrong. It's only like 6 inches deep, so you just bruise your knees and elbows trying to swim in it. It's very difficult to integrate people kind of into the scene, so I'm trying to isolate against just kind of neutral stuff. If I tried to actually include them in the scene with such a distance, they would look tiny and it would just be a mess of a photo. There's just too much going on, so I think that the correct shot here is to zoom in and get people and then get this last kind of full-length shot as they get nice and close, even if they are a little bit behind that. The flower display there, I'm totally happy because that, again, kind of like integrates them into the scene, which is what I'm mostly after. So I think that Bria is going to be walking up the parking lot on this side, and then she's going to take a right and come down the aisle. So I'm going to go out here, and I'm going to get Logan's reaction shot, but I don't actually know when he's going to see her, which is kind of the challenge, that he might sneak like a glance through the through kind of over top of the bushes there, and that might be the first look, or he might be patient and wait till she's at the end of the aisle. I have no idea, so I'm just going to roll on him pretty much the entire time of this. So if he looks over towards his wife, he's probably going to just see me, maybe. So I try to hide behind this tree so that I blend into the scene a little bit more. I will show you the video clips of everything that's going to be happening, and then I'll just let it play out. So pause here. I don't have the music rights to play the song. But use MusicBed if you're looking for music. The link is in the description. I'm a MusicBed ambassador, so this is partially sponsored, but also they do have the best stuff for weddings specifically out there. All right, so now you've seen how everything comes together. You can maybe have more clarity in the somewhat chaos of what this kind of looks like on the actual wedding day. And by chaos, I mean nothing actually looks chaotic, and everything looks very beautiful, but to be doing both photo and video with all of these challenges does pose a lot of just kind of mental strain and internal chaos with the smiling face out front. Always got your server smile on. If you've never served at a restaurant and you're like 17 years old and you're watching this video right now, I would recommend getting a job as a server because it's going to teach you a lot about the randomness, I guess, of both money. That some days you'll go in, you'll make like a bunch of money and you'll leave with like $300 cash, and then some days you'll go in, you'll make like $5 and everybody sucks. So it really does kind of help balance you out and level your emotions. So that's one reason that I'm happy. I spent 8 years at an Outback Steakhouse doing kind of all of the jobs, and I am very, very happy that I did that. All right, so now no more Outback Steakhouse. Attempting to get all the shots that I need, including photos and videos, in this very limited time frame that's happening really quickly with a lot of things that are kind of going against me, but we have clouds, so that's awesome. But as you saw in the video, like that worked out totally fine. The couple has no idea how difficult it actually was to kind of piece together everything that happened. And as well as I got good photos, and Montana's up kind of hanging out over to the right-hand side there, and she's getting good stuff too. I think she's on a 24 to 70, just making sure that she's just getting like kind of all of the safety, the basic shots. And I'm over here in this tree because I like to hang out in trees and getting everything that I can up close with the 7200. Well, we have clouds because at any moment it really could just get sunny again and everything is just going to get more difficult. So in this situation right now, I'm going to do everything I can to just quickly get all the shots that I need. Also, my bag's over here for some reason, but I should have moved that. Be aware of where your gear is, I guess, as a wedding photographer as well. Don't have it right beside the father and mother of the groom. Like, hide that somewhere else that is a little bit more out of the way. Shout out to past Taylor for not doing that, but I don't know. A lot of distractions kind of on the wedding day, mostly trying to get that blue tent down with the staff, and then the string quartet would not allow that to happen, unfortunately, because I guess they need shade, but it's cloudy. I don't know. Weddings are weird. I'm in a tree again. Here's some photos that I took. These are all my photos. I don't usually show any of my seconds, either video clips or photos, because I want to kind of show everything from my perspective. Training a second photographer to do what you want them to do is very easy, I find. It's kind of all about, that tent. It's kind of all about just like finding somebody that actually gets along with people on the wedding day. I think that's the most important, that if somebody can integrate into your business and can be the face of you and somebody that just represents your business very well, that I'm back in the tree. That second to that is, I think, photographic skill, because it can be learned. That you're not going to bring them out to a wedding that has a paid second first. You're going to test them out a few times, maybe on some weddings that don't have a hired second. But you really do kind of find what works and who works. And I found that a few of our friends, because everybody kind of, at least around like kind of the 20 to 35 years of age right now, everybody's grown up with cameras and cell phones, that everybody for the most part kind of knows what a good picture looks like. So if you put like a single like full frame camera or even a crop sensor camera with like a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens on it, they are going to create some really incredible things. The time that I guess goes into training somebody like that is a lot less than you'd expect. Actually, the way that Lindsay and I met and I guess like are now married, because of she was working a 9-to-5 job and I'm a wedding photographer, so we meet and I'm like, well, if you want to hang out on Saturday, come on out to actually this venue here, Hacienda, and here's a camera. They didn't hire a second, but you can take some photos and we'll see how it goes. And the photos that she took were like on par with anything else that I was seeing from other photographers. And no disrespect to them, but a lot of people that I've hired in the past, they all come from different places in life. And when you grow up as a car photographer or a music photographer, that you come in with a very unique perspective on your photography. And when you put a DSLR in the hands of somebody for the first time at a wedding, they just are a wedding photographer and that is all that they know. And they're able to create some great images within that environment. And at the end of the day, like, they don't have to learn every single piece of photography. Like, I feel like I've spent years learning how to do like macro photography and all kinds of different things that I don't really necessarily use the full extent of that knowledge on a wedding day. That if you're just learning wedding day limited skills, you can learn a lot really, really fast. And the biggest and most important thing is that Lindsay specifically knew how to do this very well, but just how to make people look good and knowing what images people actually want to see of themselves. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in editing, but regardless of like how cool the lighting is, and if you got like 15 stops of dynamic range in a shot, nobody cares if they don't look good. So really focusing on making people look good first and making sure you're capturing their emotions when they're the happiest and when they're the most interesting as well. I think that that's kind of the thing that you need to be looking for as a wedding photographer. And rather than just lighting and making cool looking frames, there is value in cool looking frames, but most of the value is just being able to create a significant volume of work on the wedding day of people looking really, really great. So that's my rant for the day, I guess. That wasn't really a rant. That was more of a story about how my wife and I met. I'll stop talking for a second. Lots of photos, lots of videos. Now switching to my 24 to get a few shots of them as they come out. Really loving the look, kind of wide open of the 24. I'm going to show you some better examples of kind of why I love shooting a 24 wide open later in this video, but for now we're at cocktails, and pretty much I'm just creeping on everybody. I want to get as many smiling, happy people as possible, and usually if you position yourself near the bride and groom, that happens very kind of naturally. And after like 10 minutes, we're now moving into family photos. We've told family to come over here, but we're just going to be shooting as many photos as we possibly can just while we're here kind of in the meantime. Might as well maximize use of all time.
I'm going to have you guys walk out this way too. And if you want to walk kind of like a little closer to this green space over here. And you guys just look at each other kind of like we... Awesome. Alright, that's great. And then do you want to add Logan to one? Yeah. I think that's good.
Anybody find Marie?
Not yet, no.
Alright, looks good.
For family photos, it's all about just finding something, keeping it consistent, and going through them very quickly and efficiently to get people back to the wedding day. I always do believe that the wedding day should be for the actual wedding and not for the photo session. So the faster and more efficient I can make it, the better.
Somewhere about there is good. And just kind of try to match height with everyone, so that's good. And I might be the most annoying person in the world, but it's possible everyone take like one step kind of that way. That's good right there. Thank you. I promise it's worth it.
I think one of the positive trends over the past years with weddings is that people no longer really want like 150 different photos of their wedding party. So they're happy just to get a few like really good ones and then move on to photos of themselves so they can get back to their actual wedding day. So this is what we came up with in about 5 minutes. Then the wedding party joined us again for a couple photos, and then that was it. On to just doing regular documentary coverage.
All right, looks good. And everyone look over this way here. Hold your flowers down a little lower. That's good there. Perfect. And can I make everybody just like kind of walk towards me over here and just pretend that you're just like going for a casual walk in a parking lot? Yeah, just look at each other.
Then after this, I had to get inside and get some the shots of the actual room set up now that everything, including flowers and everything, is in position and all the candles are lit. For intros, I'm pretty much always trying to use my 85, and I have it set to single point autofocus, and I have that point right on one of their faces, and I'm moving it manually with the joystick behind and just tracking with them. And in this specific case, I can't really walk at the same speed backwards as them or I'd fall into some candles. But what I usually do is, I've also switched to my 24, that's why my camera's not pointed at them. But what I also do is learned essentially just how to use and what the capabilities are, that if it was lower light than this, my autofocus would not track quite as nicely. If you have Sony or something with eye auto detect, you're probably going to get even better results potentially out of this. The reason that I like just kind of autofocus continuous single point is because I can be in complete control of everything. That I know that it's not going to try to like misfocus and focus on somebody in the audience rather than on them if they're looking the way of the camera and they're the closest to the camera. I like to just be in complete control of everything for weddings because this is just kind of happening, and to troubleshoot something in like the 5 seconds as they're walking towards me and then also trying to get a video clip of them, it's just kind of, it's too much to deal with. So full manual for that reason. And I get photos of everyone, but I only ever really get video clips of the maid of honor and best man coming in, as well as the bride and groom, obviously. And right now I'm actually running 2 cameras, so I'm taking photos with my 85, and then I have my 24 underneath to get some video clips, and you'll see it pop up in a second. But basically, the reason that I don't do that too often is because it's a little bit too much. When you're looking like as a spectator at what I'm doing when I'm just holding up 2 cameras, it looks a little ridiculous. And I really do want to minimize the distraction of me existing as much as possible when I'm at the wedding. That the less reasons for people to look at me and the more reasons for them to look at the bride and groom, the better. Then my GoPro decided that it didn't want to work anymore for a little bit. Apparently you need to put batteries in it, and because I ran it a lot more than normal, I had to charge it. So I missed the next section where we went and took this photo in kind of the front lobby before heading kind of outside to do a few more photos. I say kind of because I'm still inside. They're just the ones outside. I do a few with my 85 up here. They're fine, really nice. But well, they're really good, but they're not as good as this image right here. This is with the 24-1.4 at 1.4, and I love the softness to it. That is technically wrong. The subtle vignette, everything about this lens I really like, and that is kind of the moment that it shines. I also really like this one as well. I was just chasing around at 1/30th of a second and taking photos. I don't have any video footage of it because it was already weird enough for me to be doing that. Shout out Johnny Drama. And the shot works fine as kind of just a basic shot, including the venue, but off to the right-hand side works a lot better. So always make sure you're trying all possible options because this worked out a lot better. Even though there wasn't really a sunset, I'll talk about that a little bit more in the post-production that's coming up in a few minutes. Back inside, and the lighting is good. It is a little bit dark, but this is just straight out of camera. I'm not using any external lights or anything, and this is just kind of how stuff looks. So I'm happy enough to just shoot with no flash, but I have a Pocket Wizard on with an off-camera flash just in case I need it. But for the most part, I've turned it off. But if you want to know where it is, I believe it's off to my left-hand side, non-functioning underneath a pillar. But I am totally 100% happy with how that looks with no extra lighting at all. All right, now we're outside and we're lighting some sparklers. It's quite a task to bring the entire wedding outside. Usually if a bride and groom wants to do it, I'm like, oh, let's just use the wedding party and maybe their spouses or boyfriend, girlfriends or whoever wants to come out. But if they want to bring everybody from the entire wedding and they're cool with that, it does make a much better image. So the staff at the venue are helping everybody get all lit up. It's very time sensitive. So it's there's a lot of stress in this moment. One, photographically, you have to nail it. Two, you're in front of a large group of people that I don't really love. And three, there's just so much randomness that kind of goes into these photos. I've actually changed to put my 24mm lens on this camera right now, and I realized why I shoot these on an 85 pretty quickly, because when you're shooting on a 24, everything is just too wide. There's just too many people kind of in the foreground, and when you shoot with an 85, I'll put the images up in a second, and basically just the background compression makes it look like all the sparklers are so much closer, and all the out of focus in the foreground elements are also really, really amazing. So I would recommend don't go wide in this situation. I would say stay 50-85 if possible. 1.8 does look really nice, and it adds kind of that nice warmth. So here's the image from the 24mm lens. It's good, but here is the image from the 85mm lens, which I think is a lot better, and it even works super well in black and white as well. That was my mouth doing that sound effect. I hope you enjoyed it. Patreon advertisement time. I have been photographing over 60 weddings every single year for the past 10 years, but it was by no means an easy start. I felt like I had the photography side of things under control, but after the couple sent me the first inquiry email, usually they would just ghost and I would never hear from them again. I had no idea what I was doing wrong, but it turns out that I was actually doing a lot wrong. Over the next years, I had to figure out exactly what works to book more couples, and more importantly, the couples that I actually wanted to be shooting weddings for at a price point that I was happy with. So here's the deal with Patreon. It is all my business and marketing videos for wedding photographers. Right now, there is well over $3,000 worth of content that you have instant access to as soon as you sign up. Everything from my Lightroom presets that I actually use every single day, to my contract, to my initial inquiry scripts, a full walkthrough of my pricing document, a live meeting with a real couple, a how to book more destination weddings course, as well as bonus on-camera wedding days, a full financial breakdown of my entire wedding photography business, as well as a breakdown of where I get all of my referrals from and how you can start getting more. Plus, you'll also be getting access to our members only Facebook group. For all of the already existing content, plus the new weekly content, every Monday I'm making a new video, every Wednesday we're doing a podcast, I'm asking you just to buy me lunch once per month. It is by far the best value in wedding photography education anywhere out there on the internet. You can cancel at any time, and if you join and you're not absolutely blown away with all the content, send me an email, I'll send you $20 back, full 100% money back guarantee. Wedding photography is such an oversaturated industry. By buying me lunch once per month, I'll teach you every single thing that I've learned over an incredibly successful career. I'm Taylor Jackson, and I hope to see you inside. Hey everyone, welcome to the editing section of this video. I wasn't actually going to go through the editing section because I felt like it was kind of long last time, but a few guys commented that you actually enjoyed it, that you can skip through and find all the parts that you want. As always, all of my presets, all 3 of these packs are available in my Patreon. So if you want to get the 2018 presets, which we're probably going to use mostly today, the 2019 presets are there as well as travel and commercial. This venue specifically, I know sits really well with the summer 2018 cool, only because the interior of it is all this kind of like weird kind of incandescent ambient warm with brick, so it's just like kind of the way that it works out. I don't use summer 2018 cool for everything anymore. Last year I pretty much did, but looking forward into I guess like 2019 now, that I'm going to be relying a little bit more on my 2019 presets. So what summer 2018 cool won't work for is outside, so I'll start with the 2 outside shots and then I'll kind of set myself up. I think that summer 2018 warm maybe might just have to cool it down a little bit, so something like that. And I'm just gonna, because it's a drone shot, so you can see all my settings up here. This is from my Mavic 2, which isn't necessarily the best quality when it comes to everything. Specifically color is kind of a little challenging out of it. It's time for me to upgrade this year for sure, so really just kind of working hard to make this image work, sadly. Somewhere like that I'm pretty happy with. And then moving into a shot from my actual digital SLR that has great color right out of the gate. This is just a straight out of camera image, and I'm like pretty much entirely happy with it, but I think something like that will fit the gallery more. I like, as like a standalone image, I like the way the contrast and everything kind of is really nice and punchy, but to fit in the gallery, I kind of feel like I need to leave it a little bit more like that. Also, these trees aren't even. They planted them like just uneven, so it doesn't frame the building perfectly, and it bugs me every time I shoot here, and it probably bugs you now. You might not have noticed it in the beginning. So now that we're inside, crazy, wildly underexposed inside, and I'm going to actually select all of the images, then I'm going to deselect. I don't know how to do that. How do I deselect you? So those are the images that I already edited. Everything else is now selected, and I want to sync it with just the basic 1-step preset click. So I'm going to hit Command Shift S. I guess it'd be Control Shift S probably on PC, and I'm going to select everything except for white balance. So white balance I'm going to leave unchecked, and I'm going to sync that across the board. So now every single image left in this gallery has had kind of that 1-click preset of my summer 2018 cool. Also, my white balance in my frame down here is kind of fun. I'll have to get some manual controls for my webcam or a light. That might be a good step. Probably don't do what I do and edit completely in the dark. It's not best practice. So as you can see, like that, this is a way underexposed image. I just kind of did this just to show you the power of whenever you are shooting at a lower ISO, specifically on a newer camera, that you can just like make that look like anything really. So I'm going to try to save this in a slightly better way. Even something like that, I think I'm pretty happy with. There was a challenging scene where they're just like opening a door and you are kind of exposed for in here, and then they open the door and you have to quickly make an adjustment, and you kind of just ballpark it when you're shooting manual and get as close as you can. That is one advantage if you are an aperture priority shooter. I personally am not, because I like to have full manual control over everything, especially today when I'm shooting video as well. I want to know exactly where all my settings are kind of at all times. But this is really the only like dynamic time that you have to kind of do some guesswork and kind of just do the infinite random scroll and just hope that you're pretty close. So this is pretty good. Quite happy with that. All the presets, they're just kind of a beginning point, I would say, to make sure that you kind of add your own style back to it, that while like the 1-click might be 90% okay, it completely does change kind of with venue and lighting conditions, and if it was a sunny day or if it's a cloudy day or if it's around sunset. So make sure that you are kind of customizing things. I've actually heard a few people that they've taken like 2 or 3 of the presets and kind of made a hybrid monster preset of them that works really well for them. And that's originally how I started making my presets, was just like by combining the ones that I kind of found. It's like, okay, I like what they did with like the greens and like the contrast curve in this one, and then I'd pull stuff from everywhere else, and eventually I kind of had my own. And then when I sat down in like, I'm going to say like 2017 to start actually like properly building my own, I just like loaded up all of the images that I would typically encounter on a wedding day, and I wanted to make sure that that preset was working for all of them. And that's kind of how I begin now, that I have at least like kind of a starting point for what I like, and usually it's one of the main presets, and then I just modify based off of that, and collect them based on just like what weird things happen, and I guess like what weird situations I find myself in, and what I can do to fix them in an easy way. So you can see that I'm kind of off to the left here, because I shoot single point autofocus, and my autofocus point, I'm trying to track it on Logan, and it was a little left centered, but I don't think that they care too much about that. I know that I do, but I'm the photographer, so. So as you can see with the warm tones in this place, very, very challenging, and also really like crazy dynamic this time of day. This is just my safety shot to like make sure that I have something, just in case like cocktail hour happens and everybody's in here. Also, I don't know if this will be a Lightroom thing, but I might have to remove her, and that actually worked. Look at that. Surprised. And I'm going to check this and see if what this does for me. I don't like that. I honestly like it warmer, like almost the way that it was, but I know that future me probably won't like that as much. So that I'm happy with. I'm just going to make sure it's actually straight, because all the lines and curves are kind of hurting my head. I think that's all right though. Cool. So I'm happy with that. That's just my image, that if I don't get in and I can't do anything, that at least I have one shot of the main room, even though I know for the most part that flowers always change. Today specifically, they added some flowers kind of up here in the little windows behind them. But everything usually comes over from the ceremony and then gets set up at the head table. Also, I think that this flower arrangement is probably headed to the ceremony. These are champagne gummy bears, Prosecco gummy bears, and they were quite delicious. I think that Hacienda, they had like 5 or 6 boxes of these left over, but like the full-size boxes for quite some time. So my next 4 or 5 weddings, we got to enjoy them still. So again, like it's a good shot of like documenting what's happening, the details, but I would much rather be spending more time actually with the wedding couple on the wedding day, rather than like spending all this time doing detail shots. And that's kind of the way that at least I try to structure my day, and that when I'm talking to clients in meetings, that's usually what I'm like kind of leading with, that be like, so I know that like you want images of everything, but my main focus on the day is going to be you guys and your families, and making sure that we get lots of great images of the people that are actually at the wedding, as well as detail shots, but focus on the people. And then also while doing video as well, it kind of, that might not make the cut, unfortunately. I selected the wrong image. There's one with all their eyes open. All right, so this looks really nice. I'm quite happy with this. This is like one of maybe the most traditional image I shot all year almost. It's not straight though. There. If it's traditional image, I feel like it's got to be straight. That's the one I like better. And even though I'm going to come in like really close in the dress, I like it quite a lot. So I think that's the one that I would upload to a blog post or to Instagram or anything like that. There's some wild dogs outside. I don't know if you can hear them, but if you can hear them, they're super wild. Cool. So I like that image a lot. In like an actual edit, I would probably come in here, make a virtual copy, and then we could do some kind of black and whites with it as well, and see which black and whites kind of fit the best. And something like that's all right. I feel like the composition, it could be better. I like this image a lot better, maybe specifically this image here, the best out of all of them. And I'm just kind of creeped up against the side of the door, which is giving this kind of weird flare glow thing. I like this. She also looked at me for an image in this scene as well, and I was pretty happy with that as well. But yeah, I really, really dig this image. I could consider cropping in kind of to like just frame it at the actual frame here. I like it the other way. It feels a little broken, but gives it more context into the scene. So I'm happy with that. It's just kind of a one click and done. This is fine, but for the video that you've already seen, I think I'm only going to include this image here. All right, so into the ceremony. And this is like, as I talked about, a really challenging aisle, and a really, really challenging setup. but we were fortunate enough to get shades. So that is all that I could really ever hope for in this scene, because there's actually, it might be in Patreon, but there's 1 or 2 videos of this same aisle setup where it is sunny, and it is a challenge to get everything looking as good as it should. But yeah, so that's another Patreon plug. We'll do another Patreon commercial at some point. So pretty much like once you're in controlled settings like this, the benefit of shooting manual is just like that it speeds up your workflow quite fast, because I'm not changing exposures, I'm not doing anything. All I'm really doing is, or I'm not changing exposures in the camera. All I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of exposure and bringing down the black point to add kind of that natural contrast. And I feel like this is almost a point where the previous button is down here. I left it intentionally a little bit so that they could, or so that I could click it. And just by using this previous button, or you can just select them all in sync again, if you wish. It pretty much is going to do all my work for me. Got that 10% slant. Everybody loves it. It looks good. I almost like the golden tones. It might feel a little bit too warm, but I kind of like the way that it is. So I'm happy with it. And also by shooting this 24mm lens, kind of like at 1.6 like this, that's how you get that nice kind of natural vignette, which is technically a flaw, but I like the way like this tree, like I love this specific section of this tree. Like that's like something that like I want from my lenses. I want them to have flaws. And I find that the Sigma art lenses actually are too correct all the time to give me kind of cool and interesting detail like that. But I think that that adds like a richness to the image that you can't really get in post-production ever. Also, again, shouting out to this this terrible umbrella, like, I don't know what it would be considered. Tent? I guess it's a tent. So again, as you can see, this tree slightly closer than the other tree, unfortunately. All right, looks good. Cool. These are all just kind of like already done with the preset in there. So preset, obviously, I spend a lot of time shooting outdoors in shade and trying to keep things a little bit warmer than they maybe usually were in real life, because life looks better in the sunset. And yeah, like everything is just kind of already done. So preset, one click, killing it. So basically I was on my 7200, and then as they came around this corner, I switched to my 24 because I really wanted this shot. I haven't yet recorded the first part of the video, but I'll probably talk about it there, that I really kind of overused the 24 at 1.4 in this wedding. I thought that it was like the greatest thing ever, which it is an amazing lens. But because I spent a little bit too much time with it, looking back at the images now, I wish that I would have spent a little bit more time on either my 85 or my 7200 like we're shooting right now. I think that overall that would have been better, and that's something that I can improve on. I tend to always go a little bit deeper than I should whenever I get a new lens, and I think it's like the greatest thing ever. So it's like the first couple weddings, I have to consciously remind myself to like relax, that this isn't like, don't change everything because you got this new lens that you are currently in love with for like 2 weeks, and you're probably going to sell it. Yeah, so these are all outdoors, shade, super controlled lighting, very easy. You've probably seen me use this spot again over time, and basically what happened was it got sunny right now, so we had to kind of hide over here. Also, it's like, I guess it's hard because I shoot a lot of the same venues over and over again, and there are spots that just work so much better than other spots. And while it would be nice to like switch things up a little bit, I feel like that quality wise, the lighting here is like the best light and the best background and the best space that you can find to get away from people, so that you're not attracting like 100 family and friends members to just like distract you from your photo session. So this is why this spot works so well, and I have no problems using it over and over again because it is very good. Cool. Cool. So usually with the guys, I get a little bit tighter. I would say usually my frame looks something like a little bit more even like this. The rule is generally like to try to not cut people off at like limb bends, junctions. I don't know what it's called. So basically like the crop line, if I did it on like their elbows here, it would look really, really weird. The struggle with this crop is that it's kind of close to like waist, hip, belt height. So that's what's making it look a little bit weird, but I'm over it. So even though that's pretty much like I maybe should have just went to the next image rather than trying to crop this one in. There we go. The sad thing with cropping and the sad thing with crop sensor cameras in general for me is that, as I talked about, I love that like kind of natural contrast and vignette, and I lost it whenever I had to crop in. But whenever I went to the next image and I actually had the proper crop in my camera, made it instantly a lot better for me. So I'm actually overexposed for once in my life here. Wild. All right, so now everything's set up. Flowers are up here. Everything's looking good. Nobody creeping through there. You can actually see the cupcakes down over there. And I'm going to do the best I can with this room. So that's like technically correct, but I feel like they added candles and added these lights. They want it warmer. They want it to look more true to life. And I feel like that is a little bit closer to it there. And then as the light comes down, there's this really crazy awkward period because the ceiling is a skylight here, that it looks like really, really good. And then for like 20 minutes, it's the worst light, the most like mixed lighting you could ever imagine. And you just kind of have to hope that like nothing happens within that time. And if it does, just like find different angles to photograph from that don't include the like horrible mixed lighting. All right, I thought I would include this one for them. They seemed pretty happy about it, so I don't know. I haven't seen the video yet, so maybe it didn't make it. Also, his hand's overexposed. It's not an image for the video today. We're gonna get rid of that one. All right, so that one I don't love. I just selected a few of these because I didn't know which one was kind of the best. I like that one the best. That one's fine, but that one's the best. Even though you lose, the veil looks a little bit better in the last one. But I really don't want to just spend like all of my time out there styling images whenever I could be shooting more variations a little bit more fast, I guess. That there is definitely value in like making those like key images perfect. So to get those shots of them smiling facing the camera with the dress all perfect. But I think throughout the rest of the day that a little bit of like flaws are actually they make the day a little bit more real. So in this case, I would say it's a lot more perfect. If I could go back, I would get her to put her flowers down a little bit just so you could see the detail on her dress. That's kind of a thing that I'm constantly reminding people to do on the wedding day, to just like bring flowers down to kind of essentially like belly button height with stems is kind of the ideal height from what I've discovered. All right. Really bringing the black point in here. That looks good, and I feel like I'm slightly off center. Maybe I'm slightly... There we go. Cool. That looks good. One more, walking away. And as you can see, like that, even though this is just kind of a brief section of images, whenever I'm not like talking about everything, also my focus point again is off to the left. So that was an extreme example because I never know if they're going to come through this door or the other door on the right hand side. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so how fast I'm kind of going through whenever I'm not talking through everything is how fast that if I was editing a real wedding. I actually outsource all my editing now. But if I was editing a wedding, usually it takes me about 2 hours. And that all comes down to just shooting everything. I guess I kind of screwed up the crop there. That just comes down to shooting everything in manual and doing as good of job as you possibly can on the wedding day. And if you're able to do a great job within your camera, man, I really like just I would want to deliver this image like that. Like that looks the best to me. And I know it's like a little too warm and I gotta fix it, but to me, I wish that I could deliver everything to look like that. Almost like fake sepia or something. But yeah, so you can get through images incredibly quickly, especially when you're in good light. So like when we were outside, for instance, during the ceremony, it was so quick to get through all those images because they were all consistent light, consistent exposures, and you just kind of like just go through it and get it done real fast. Whereas once we're inside here, it becomes a lot more challenging to be able to do because of just the way the lighting is. That over there they're underexposed, out here they're okay, but now they're a little bit too like yellow, and that's a really nice shot. I like that. That was actually like proper real emotion captured by a wedding photographer. That it theoretically should happen more often, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily. I think I'm going to leave that one the way it is, even though it's a little, I'm going to crop, there's a distracting beam. So I'm pretty happy with this, just the way it is. I'm not even going to cool it down. I think my preset kind of cooled it down a bit. And then this is another like weird hotspot that I have to kind of work with. I don't think that's the best first dance image. I don't think that'll make the video. I think that's a better one. Even though I can see the exit signs creeping through, I try to make those also not happen in images, and I would do that by taking a half step forward, which I should have done while I was here. So it's way easier to make those edits in your camera on the wedding day than it is to make them now, because it takes time and slows your process down, especially if you're trying to edit things. And one, get them done like in a quickly and timely manner so you can go and live your life. And two, I find a lot of value in making edits quickly so that you're able to basically keep everything consistent. Because if you sit down at a wedding gallery and you edit like for 15 images and then go and you're gone for the next day and then you come back, it's going to take you a minute to like get caught up to like kind of where you were at as far as like just editing and get back kind of in the groove of things. But then also the struggle is going to be that like things are going to look different, that the lighting in your house has changed, or that it's now daytime or nighttime, or I've missed his collar. I have a glossy desk, and I'm using one of the just regular Mac mice, so it's a bit of a struggle all the time. I love crowd shots whenever everyone's actually having a good time. There's always like a couple people that ruin it, but I feel maybe this guy's trying pretty hard, but everybody else having a good time. So it's very, very rare to catch those shots, but when you do, it is definitely one of the best images of the day. So image looks great. What I don't love is the industrial courtyard over here, but there is not a whole lot that I can do about that, unfortunately. It's just kind of what it is. This is also a very nice image. I like that a lot. I almost like it like way underexposed like that. Like I'm pretty happy with that image. I wouldn't deliver it because I know it's not my style, but it's kind of interesting that an image can work like that, and an image can work like that, and an image could work like that, and you just kind of have to make your own decisions on what looks good. So this was an example of me maybe overusing the 24, that I spent a little bit too much time here when I could have just been getting better shots faster. But here's like kind of that natural vignetting of everything shot at 1.4. Like this is one of my favorite, like the softness in this image, I absolutely love. I wish, so I keep saying that I maybe overuse the 24, but maybe I'm underusing the 24 because I wish that I had more images like this from all of the rest of the weddings from this year. All right, color's getting a little wild. It's hard to keep the dynamic range together whenever they're in the shade and everything is all backlit. Might even go like up on purple here. You know what? When in doubt, just hit auto and see what happens. Doesn't do a whole lot. Graduated filter. It looks all right. I think I'm happy with that, and I might add a little more warmth back to it. So that looks good. You have to kind of sacrifice like to get proper skin tone on them, and unless you want to like cut out the entire building, which you start to just make the entire thing look kind of fake, you really do have to choose whether you want like that like dramatic sky or them. I don't love to do too many HDR blends just because things start to look a little too processed and a little too fake. Although I am going to leave that image super under like that. That looks really nice. I like that a lot. So like, yeah, and I don't even know why I included it because it's not a good facial expression, but it works in extreme shadow like that. So does this one. This one's a much better image, I guess, for them. I just get excited about when accidental aka also potentially like kind of bad, awkward images when they actually end up working out. So again, like there isn't a real right or wrong way to do this. Like I could edit this image like this or something more like that. Because I don't see their faces too much in this shot because they're very small, I think I'm going to leave it around there. That would be an edit that I would come back to before I actually delivered everything, or I would go to the next image and give them something completely different. So for this one, that I would actually go like kind of up on it. This is a weird sunset because it was just like a cloud that kind of was being illuminated but didn't really give us any color. Just too bad. So one thing I don't love is that you just can't, every wedding doesn't get like the best golden hour ever. And that's all I want. So maybe I have to move to LA or just shoot in California more often. All right. So again, like I could be keeping the clouds here, but they almost become distracting to a point. So I'm happy to let those go. Even though from like a lighting photography standpoint, it seems like oh yeah, like that's like, that needs to be in it. It's the drama, the excitement. I don't love that image anymore. But I don't know, like I'm happy to let it go. Cause like if I was to try to include kind of all of this like drama, it kind of just makes for a bad image. But as soon as you start letting it go a little bit, it kind of cleans it up, even though again, I don't like that image. So this is me following and just like slow shutter, as you can see, 1/30th of a second, and just trying to like, I don't know, just see what happened. And I like this image a lot. Do I like it in black and white? Maybe. Initially I was like, this is going to be a black and white image for sure. Oh, that does look pretty good. Yeah, I like that. That image makes me as excited as this image does right here. But then if I upload this to Instagram, 5 people are going to like it and everyone's going to hate it. So it's, for me personally, I guess I have to have like, it's the Gary Vaynerchuk thing, like the market is always right. So if you upload something and it just performs super poorly and it also doesn't give you the most amount of joy, maybe it just makes more sense to go with the safer options. But again, like kind of that just like natural softness from this lens, I really love it. What a cool venue. This was the one I was the most excited about. And this is the one that'll get like, people will be angry if I upload it. It looks so good though. That's really, it's really red. That one's proper skin tone, but I can't go proper with an image like this. I think I just like that. That looks nice. That was the original right here. So I'm quite happy with that. Moving on. Back to non-blurry, more normal images. Gotta switch it up sometimes. Just like shoot that slow shutter and follow people around. It's not weird. You're hired to be there. Probably. If you're not, then it is weird. All right. Happy with that. Again, want to keep that natural warmth of everything. And that's a little too warm. I feel like this is when I was cropping in camera. Maybe not, but I'm not seeing the natural vignette that I like so much. All right, there's speech. And sparklers. So I know that I'm going to talk about this for sure in the video. The 24 millimeter versus 85. So I personally, I guess I didn't really think too hard about it, that I always shot these with an 85, and there was no question. That's just like, yeah, that's just like how you shoot sparklers. And for a long time, that's what I did. And then I shot it with a 24, and I realized that it does create a cool photo, but the hard part is that everyone has to be so close. And when you're shooting with a 24 or a wider lens, even a 35, everyone has to be so close that people start to get distorted, and it's really not like the best way to go about it, even though it does include more people, which I guess like guests will like that, but I don't like including people when I'm distorting their bodies in weird ways because of the lens. So I think the 85 is the way to go, or a 50, or something that's a little bit longer if you are doing sparklers, just the way that it compresses all these sparklers in the background to make it look like it's like right behind them. I'm really, really into that and enjoy that. So, and then I might run this through and see. That looks dang good, everyone. Super happy with that. I'm also going to make a copy of that, but I have to move my face in order to do that. So thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully this was a good thing. Maybe leave a comment in the comments if I should continue doing this, because I have to do the edits anyways for these videos. So it would be cool if I knew you guys were paying attention and that you're actually getting something from this. Otherwise, I don't know, I'll do them silently and quickly, I guess. But see you on the next time, as Paul Rudd would say, and I love you, man. Goodbye.